Here with Major Quinn of the U.S. Marines. His first name is Rory. My name is Yonah Wacido. Today is February 8th, 2008. We're at 29 Palms, and Major Quinn is the XO of 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines. The period that this interview will cover will be early 2004 through the end of 2007. And what was your billet during this time?
When I first arrived in 2004, I wasn't in Lima. I was the assistant operations officer in the 3 shop. Worked for George Scruffler, who had previously been in Lima 6. And then when that deployment ended in September, I took command of Lima, September of 04. And then we deployed to Ramadi the first time in September of 05, a year later. Then I turned over Lima in June of 06. And then did the next deployment to Ramadi as the XO of the battalion.
And what was your rank during this period?
Captain until pretty much the day I took over as battalion XO.
And we are looking for evidence in support of the argument that the Marine Corps and Lima 37 made the transition from 3rd generation state versus state maneuver warfare to 4th generation non-state versus state advanced counterinsurgency warfare. And we've asked you to look at a CAX debrief format for the 3rd generation warfare ideas, and at the list of ACF or anti-coalition forces strengths and weaknesses from Colonel Hamlis's book, Slinging the Stone, for some 4th generation warfare thoughts. And we've asked you what topics in your tour with Lima 37 in Iraq best illustrate this transition.
Okay, well, I'll start with a relatively rough overview, and then I got 4 specific examples from the CAX debrief. First, off the top of my head, not off these papers, here's some things that I think are critical for people to understand, and I think the average Marine can go through his life in the Marine Corps without actually thinking about these things. They're easy to understand once they're put to you, but Marines just don't always think about things in a cerebral way like this. So I think where we find ourselves in early 2008, and what that's really saying is early 2007 when the thing changed, the war changed, that was the result of 4 years of constant effort, not a decisive battalion who made up for poor battalions in the past, and there were good battalions before that. Certainly there's ebbs and flows in talent, but generally I tell Marines we got to where we got because we fought hard daily, learning lessons that we'll talk about, but we avoided an Abu Ghraib, we avoided a My Lai, things that would have decisively either delayed or made impossible the eventual turn. So that's key, especially we're going to talk about it wasn't a smooth transition, it wasn't a easy or seamless transition. So as we were doing things poorly, and we could kind of tell we were, in those days, it's critically important to just continue to basically hit singles every time up to the plate, and eventually a home run will come. When we go back to 2004, we talk about the tough periods where we could tell what we were doing wasn't effective or right. We should be allowed to do this different. We had those feelings, but we couldn't really quantify it. Like, if only this changed, then we would succeed. There's a common mindset, I think, in Marines to just assume that we were all screwed up, higher command was all screwed up, the president didn't plan right, and there may be elements to all those things that are true. But one thing I learned this tour is that the Sunnis just had to fight us for a while. Have you heard this yet today?
Yeah.
Okay, when you think about it, and I'll just sum it up quickly, we can go back to it later. It was a Sunni-dominated country, right, prior to the invasion, and we completely humiliated their entire national defense infrastructure, their pride, etc. Got to Baghdad, most magnificent military campaign in the way that it was in world history, right? Once we didn't have the next thing, you can say it's jobs, you can say we shouldn't disbanded the army, whatever that thing is, once that wasn't provided, it was just sort of preordained that the Sunnis were going to fight us, in my opinion now. I didn't have that opinion 3 years ago. And so all of these painful things we went through in Al-Qaim, and even the first Ramadi, I think they're valuable to study, but it's not like anything was Colonel Lopez's fault, or anything was Colonel Turner's fault, or my fault, or whatever. Certainly not a sergeant's fault, and I'm afraid the lance corporals think that. They just needed to fight us for a while, and the challenge is, when they were done fighting us, are we ready on that day to seize? Can we perceive the environment has changed, and can we seize the initiative? And that's very much fourth generation. In order to be able to do those things, the quality